Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Gunatitamanam Chidananda Rupam Chidabhasakam Sarvagam Dhyana Gamyam Munidhyeyamakasha Rupam Paresham Parabrahma Rupam Kanesham Bhajema. Team Param Vedanta extends a warm welcome to the 58th session of Bhagavad Gita, verse by verse. Wishing you all a divine evening. Dear friends, having completed a chapter, we have got a fair idea about Sakama Upasana, Nishkama Upasana, their paths and destination. The importance of Antyakala Namasmarana was highlighted. If we need to have Lord Smarana at the time of death, we should have lived a life of interwoven with his existence. In today's session, the essence of the entire 8th chapter will be explained in a nutshell, driving home the key points for better assimilation. Today's speakers comprise Dr. Kiran, Dr. Anupama, Srimati Chetana, Srimati Mamata, and Dr. Rupa. Our revered teacher, Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir, will begin the session with his introductory remarks, bringing in his valuable insights. This is special chanting today. Sri M.S. Vishwanath will chant Narayana Sukta for us. Sri Vishwanath served in the Life Insurance Corporation of India for 40 long years and post-retirement has involved himself in charitable activities. Presently, he is the chairman of Kaveri Seva Foundation. Dear seekers, let's make today's Shravanam an experience to remember by making ourselves totally available with mindful awareness
of the previous class. Let us remember that the goal of our life while we are living is to understand that we are one with the changeless consciousness. We are the Satchidananda. The whole world is nothing but Satchidananda, and we are beyond limited time, space, matter, and energy. This is the goal of the life when we are living it. Now, Bhagavan here in the last verses from verse 24 to 28 of the 8th chapter tells us what happens to a person after he passes away, what is his future, what is his afterlife. Here, we are not talking about a Jnani who's achieved Jivan Mukta right here in this life, but we are talking about other people who are aware of the spiritual path and what happens to them. Here, Bhagavan talks about two types of travelers, two paths as also two destinations. The first is a physical path where the person is worried about materialistic goals. He uses dharma, artha, and kama. He has finite goals which he is going to accomplish, called avratam, and thereby he earns either punya or papa, depending on whatever he has done. But eventually, after he dies, he returns to the world because he has not yet got mukti. The second type of traveler is a person who has understood with an understanding that he has to go on the mental path, that is the Nishkama path, that is a spiritual path of sadhana. He has to reach an infinite goal, anavritam, and eventually he will get krama mukti. So Bhagavan is talking about these two types of people and what happens to them in the afterlife. He starts off with a person who has had Saguna Upasana as his goal in life. He has understood that he has to achieve his Satchidananda status. But when he passes away without becoming a Jivan Mukta, he goes by the Shuklagati, the Devayana, or the bright path. He is guided by the presiding deities, initially of fire, then light, the bright fortnight, and also the Uttarayana, which is the path of the sun from January to about July, and eventually he reaches Brahmaloka. When he goes to Brahmaloka, he continues his sadhana. Not only that, he is taught by Chaturmukha Brahma himself, and eventually he attains Krama Mukti and does not come back to the world itself. But what happens to a person who is involved only in ritualistic activities, who of course does his duty, but does only things like social service and does not engage in Saguna Upasana? This person, when he dies, goes to the Krishna or Pitrayana, and he is taken by the presiding deities of smoke, the dark fortnight, the waning moon, as also the Dakshinayana, and he goes, depending upon his papa or punya, to the higher lokas, that is the Swarga lokas, that is above the Bhuloka and below the Brahmaloka, to one of these lokas, depending upon how much punya he has got. And eventually, once his timer is over there, he is brought down back to Bhuloka. So therefore, while social things are very good, it is important for us to realize that Kshine Punye Martyaloka Vishanti, he has to come back to the Bholoka and again try to go into Saguna Upasana, Nirguna Upasana, Jnana, and eventually attain Mukti. In this verse, number 26, Bhagavan says there are only two paths, and it is clear, it is up to us to choose which path we want to follow. The first, of course, being Saguna Upasana, Brahmaloka, and Mukti, eventually. The second being the dark path, which is also the Krishna Gati, going to the Swargalokas, or of course, if you have done too much papa, we may go down to the Narkalokas also. But eventually, we have to come back to earth. Earth seems to be the only place where we are fit for sadhana, where we can do enough sadhana to climb and go into Brahmaloka. So it is up to us to choose what we want to do. We have to understand that with dispassion, with detachment, because of the limited results of the worldly ways, we have to go into Upasana. And this has been very clearly mentioned in the Isavasya Upanishad, as was pointed out by an earlier speaker. So this is what we have to choose. Clearly knowing what the two paths are, Bhagavan says, you make the choice. Either you go through the dark path, or preferably by understanding, you go to the brighter path. Again, Saguna Upasana, eventually going into Nirguna Upasana, Jnana, then Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, and Jnanam, and then getting Mukti. Now, let us remember that either we have to aspire for the long-term benefits, like a long-term FD, which may not give us results immediately, but in the long term, it is good for us. Or we can put our bank balance or life only in the short-term SB accounts, where we'll get immediate results, but nothing much in the long term. Because eventually, we have to go on the bright path to fulfill our life's mission. Let us remember that Vedic study, fire sacrifices, yajnas, austerities, charities, while all these will give us a lot of punyam, they are only temporary, and again, they may lead us to the higher lokas, but here we have to come down back to Bhuloka to complete our sadhana. So we know that these, while they are good, while they may help and purify our mind, they are only temporary as far as the results of these are concerned. So Bhagavan is telling us in the last verse of this chapter, we have to go into the path of Upasana. The way we lead our life, Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Prasada Buddhi, all that we do in the world is an offering or as per the dictates of Ishvara, and whatever we get as results is also through his grace only, and we do not hanker for any results. We are looking for long-term results. We have to lead a life of harmony where we do bhakti. We may live in the world and do karma. Of course, it has to be only dharmic. And then, of course, Upasana has to be done. And eventually, let us all go through the bright path and eventually get mukti very soon. And this is the end of the 8th chapter. Hari Om.
Thank you, madam. That was a nice revision of the important verses of the last class. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We have concluded the chapter 8, the study of 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and we realize what a wonderful chapter with so much of learning that we've had in this chapter. Most importantly, the importance of remembering Ishvara all the time. And if you remember Ishvara all the time, you will remember Ishvara also at the time of death. And thereby, death, which is normally a very uncomfortable situation. Here there is a nice stotram, the Shiva Shankara stotram, which talks about how normally Yama Dharmaraja does not come alone. He comes with all these Yamadutas, Yamakinkaras, and they are very noisy, Ati Bhishana, Katu Bhashana. They can be very unruly, very disruptive. But once you know Yamashashana, once you know the Lord of Yamadharmaraja himself, then your mind can be such a celebration. The composer says, "Oh Lord, please come with Uma, and I want you to dance in my mind. Can my death be also a form of a celebration where I see both of you dancing in my heart?" This is possible if the study of the Bhagavad Gita brings in two things. If it can bring in bhakti, and Shri Krishna declares that no devotee of mine would ever perish. Name bhakta pranashyati. There is no question of a destruction of my devotee. The Bhagavad Gita is a wonderful combination of Jnana Yoga and Bhakti, along with various sadhanas like karma and upasana to help us to internalize all these. This is how so powerfully some of the verses that we have studied already, predominantly from the second chapter, which will reinforce our understanding of how to be able to be prepared for death. Right in the beginning, the first teaching verse of the second chapter, Shri Krishna repeats again and again, don't be sorrowful, don't be grieful. So shutam na arhasi. Verses 25, 26, 27, and 30. This is repeated and repeated. He says, if there is some grief, some sorrow in your heart, it is because of ignorance. Krishna's message again and again, if you are sorrowful for any reason, Krishna says, you have not understood the message of the Bhagavad Gita. In addition to this verse, verse number 11 of the second chapter, there is another beautiful verse in the fifth chapter which says, Ajnanam avritam jnanam. There is something that has concealed the knowledge in me. Tena muhyanti jantavaha. Krishna again gives us a very clear diagnosis. If ever you are suffering, it is because of ignorance. Let us remember these two verses. Let us meditate on these verses. I will request Shamala to chant these two verses for us. Shamala, please.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Ashocyananvashocastvam Prajnavadamscha bhashase Gatasu nagatasumscha Nanushocanti panditaha Nadatte kasyachit papam na chaiva sukrutam vibhuh ajnanena vrutam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha.
As part of Jnana Yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, right in the beginning in the second chapter, tells us again and again, and this is very fundamental in Vedanta, to understand that I am someone other than the body. The body is only a role that I assume, just like an actor puts on a certain costume and plays a certain role. And because he has knowledge, he does not identify. The cause of all my suffering, according to Vedanta, is an identification with the role. And therefore, there are these verses with the Bhagavad Gita which talk Dehi no spin yata dehe, where Shri Krishna clearly tells us of the difference between the Deha, the body, and Dehin, the indweller within the body. The indweller never changes, whereas the body changes. As we get older, Vasamsi Jirnani, just like we change clothes, Shri Krishna assures us that we do not have to worry about changing clothes. Shamala, please chant these two verses.
देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरः प्राप्तिः धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि.
This verse from the Upanishad gives us the essence of Jnana Yoga. We have to move from that which appears to be real, that is our body-mind complex, asatoma, to sat, the indweller within the body, which never changes, which never perishes. And this is possible when tamas, the ignorance, is replaced by knowledge. And if this understanding is very clear, there is no death, because I have understood that the death of my body is not my death at all. This is a very central verse worth meditating upon, where Shri Krishna tells us very clearly, and Shri Krishna is telling Arjuna on the battlefield, Na jayate mriyate va. There is no question of birth or death. We have been there from the very beginning, if there is a beginning, and we will continue to be there for all time. Ajaha, there is no birth. Nityaha, we are there all the time. Sashvataha, permanent. Puranaha, we've been there from the very beginning. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. And there is no death of my real self when the body dies. Please listen to this being chanted and meditate over it.
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे.
Again, there are so many verses in the second chapter where Shri Krishna repeatedly tells us that death is certain for that which is born, and birth is certain for that who dies. And therefore, whenever something is apariharyet, that means something which is inevitable, don't feel sorrowful about it. Please do not feel sorrowful. These are verses which Shri Krishna repeatedly tells us. And through our own understanding, what really happens when a person dies? When a person dies, it is like when we change a cell phone. It is only the instrument that is gone. The SIM card is replaced into another telephone. It is like the SIM card represents the subtle body and the causal body. And more importantly, that force, the cellular network, which is comparable to the Atma, if I'm able to identify, all these are just instruments, and therefore it cannot be destroyed. Please chant.
जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युः ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च तस्मादपरिहार्येऽर्थे न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि.
Krishna continues to tell us that the real me, the Atma, is all pervading. Yena sarvam idam tatam. And when that is all pervading, it is avinashi. It cannot be destroyed by anybody at any time. And there is another verse which says, while the body undergoes changes, the real me is anashina. It is aprameya. It is the ultimate subject. And therefore, continue your life with this understanding and don't be affected, Shri Krishna says. Let us listen as these two verses are being chanted.
Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinashamavyyasyasya na kaschit kartumarhati antavanta ime dehaha नित्यस्योक्ता शरीरिणः अनाशिनो प्रमेयस्य तस्माद्युध्यस्य भारत.
Sri Krishna gives us one more chance. If for some reason we are not able to come into this path and we miss the bus in this life, but we have done a lot of sadhanas, he calls such a person a yoga brashta. But he assures you, Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe, you will find a place in the next life which is extremely conducive for continuing these sadhanas. And therefore, again, Sri Krishna tells us, do not worry. Please chant.
प्राप्य पुण्यकृतां लोकान् उषित्वा शाश्वती समाः शुचीनां श्रीमतां गेहे योगभ्रष्टोऽभिजायते.
These are just a few sample verses from the Gita which tells us never to take our death very seriously. With that background, let us look at the revision of the important verses or all the verses. Dr. Kiran, please.
Thank you. Hari Om, Gurubhyo Namaha. Death is such an enigma. We spend all our life trying to understand it. Arjuna, no one understands better than him as he is in the threshold of life and death. Arjuna, Krishna being a Jagat Guru, introduces few terms casually to check whether Arjuna is grasping. Arjuna, Savyasachi, who can shoot a target looking at the reflection, grasps immediately and requests Lord Krishna to explain these terms. And also, he asks his own very important question about the last journey. Let us study what they are. The first question is, what is Brahman? Lord Krishna answers as Paramam Aksharam Brahma. Here, Aksharam means imperishable or which is never destroyed and is not alphabet as is commonly known. And Paramam means highest, that is Nadike Uspar. So this is the Paramam. Why introduces this means for a regular persons, even the samsara appears to be a never-ending trail. That's why he says this is the highest Paramam Aksharam Brahma. This is a beautiful and most concise definition of the Brahman, and that is why this whole chapter is called Akshara Brahma Yoga. Next question is, what is Adhyatma? This all-pervading consciousness must be existing within the individual body also. So this is called, consciousness is called Adi Atma. In macro it is Brahman, whereas in micro it is Atma. Here Krishna introduces a beautiful term called Swabhavaha, that is, it is the inner essence or Swarupa, which can never be removed and is not a guna or attribute. We will study this more in 13th and 14th chapter. Next, what is karma? We all know it is deliberately done action. Here Krishna again gives a different definition. He says that which brings about the existence of all beings or creation. So Karana Shishti is karma. Creation comes into being not because of Bhagavan's wish or play, but due to our own past deeds and vasanas. This is called karma. Next, what is Adhibhutam? Every perishable thing is Adhibhutam. Bhavaha is another very nice term, means entity. So any object that you experience is Adhibhutam. We experience this world, it is temporary and Adhibhutam. The body, it is temporary. Mind, thoughts, it is temporary. And if somebody says he has experienced Brahman, you know it is not that. And next question is, what is Adhidaivam? Here it defines as Purushaha, which here means Hiranyagarbha, the consciousness associated with the subtle body, or to be easy, mind. Let us recapitulate the terms which you have learned. One is Brahman. It is the highest indestructible thing, that is Paramam Aksharam. Next, Adhyatmam, that is the micro. Karma, that is the deliberate action or the doership, which is the cause of this samsara or the world. And Adibhutam is Jagat, the world we experience. Adidaivam is Hiranyagarbha, the collective consciousness associated with subtle body. Remember here, all here is associated with consciousness or Brahman Atma. And let us study the next important question. What is Adiyajna? Lord says, Aham Eva, that is, I myself am. Here, Adiyajna means Ishvara or Brahman associated with Maya. Here, Ishvara or controls Maya, whereas Jiva is under the control of Maya. So, Ishvara knows everything which is happening. He knows the thought and attitude behind all action. That is why he is Karma Pala Data. Where is that Ishvara? Where I can find him? Krishna says, Atra Dehe, that is, I reside in all dehas as Dehi, or all shariras as Shariri, the very consciousness principle, the enlivening principle, the only thing, non-matter, which matters, nothing else matters, and the infinite thing. So if you remove Purnam from Purnam, Purnam alone remains. So if you remove Ishvara from the world, Ishvara alone remains. This is all which matters. And this Ishvara is the only thing that is worth remembering, not only in death, but also in every moment of our life. That is why Arjuna asks this very important question, how to remember you, the Lord, at the time of death. So our journey should be from the ephemeral Madhu to Madhusudana. How to do it, we will learn further. Thank you.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, verses 5 to 14. What is the significance of remembering God at the time of death? Here, Lord Krishna tells us why a seeker and upasana should remember him at the time of death and how it is possible for him to do so. We know that this Saguna Nishkama Upasaka is still in the triangular format. He is an Ajnani with respect to Nirguna Brahma. For whatever reason he may have remained as an Ajnani, until the time of death, Krishna assures him that by just remembering God at the time of death, he would attain the Lord. Anta kale cha mam eva smaran kalevaram muktva yaha prayati saha mat bhavam yati atra samshaya na asti. Three rules can be inferred. First, Antakala Ishvara Smaran, Ishvara Bhavam Gacchati. This is the route to Kramamukti. Second, Sarvakala Ishvara Smaran alone will lead to Antakala Ishvara Smaran. And third, whatever be the object of thought at the time of death, a person will be reborn in that form. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam Tyajat yante kalevaram tam tam eva eti. Now we have two doubts. What is it that determines Antakala Ishvara Smaran, and what does Antakala Ishvara Smaran determine? Krishna says this upasaka should be a sada tad bhava bhavitaha. What does this mean? We know that every thought is a result of two forces, the will or conscious mind and the vasana or subconscious mind. As we get old, the will gets feeble and the vasanas dominate. All through life, as the conscious mind performs worldly duties, which Krishna here calls yudhyacha, meaning swadharma anusthanam, we must saturate our subconscious mind with Daivi Sampat, Ishvara Vasanas, so that whatever be the state of the conscious mind at the time of death, Ishvara Smaran becomes effortless. What does Antakala Ishvara Smaran determine? Whether one gets Punarjanma or Kramamukti and the type of Punarjanma. So, how do we focus on Antakala, Sarvakala Ishvara Smaran? Krishna says it is possible by Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena, the constant practice of meditation on Saguna Ishvara. Chetasana Anya Gamina, an undistracted mind. Mai Arpita Mano Buddhi, being emotionally dependent on me. Anuchintayan Param Purusham Divyam, constantly thinking about the Lord. Bhaktya Yuktaha, with an intense love for God. Vita Ragaha, detachment from finite goals. Ichanta Brahmacharyam Charanti, desiring the spiritual goal alone. What is this Upasaka's object of Upasana? Saguna Ishvara. Krishna gives Ishvara Varnana as Paramam, the greatest, Purusham, the indweller, Divyam, Samashti Ishvara, Kavim, omniscient, Puranam, Anadi, Anushasitaram, the ruler of the universe, Anor Aniyamsam, the subtlest, Sarvasya Dhataram, Karma Paladata, Achintya Rupam, inexplicable form, Aditya Varnam, brilliant, and Tamasaha Parastat, beyond ignorance. The Upasaka can choose any Alambanam. It could be Pratima, where he can personify God as Rama, Krishna, etc., or Pratika, which could be a flame, Omkara, etc. By quoting Prashna and Katopanishad, Krishna glorifies Omkara Upasana. Om iti eka aksharam brahma vyaharan deham tyajan yaha prayati saha paramam gatim yati. What are the conditions to fulfill for Kramamukti? Asana or Bhumi Jaya, that is mastery over the physical posture. Indriya Jaya, to withdraw from all sense objects. Sarva Indriyani Samyamya. Prana Jaya, that's mastery over the breath. Chitta Jaya, the ability to draw the mind and prana to the heart. According to Shastra, all nadis emerge from the heart, which is like a satellite launch pad from where the jiva takes off to any one of the 14 lokas. The route to Kramamukti. This Saguna Nishkama Upasaka is taking the Shukla Gati route. Bhruvor Padye Pranam Aveshya. Drawing the Sukshma Sharira through the Sushumshna Nadi, he releases it through the Brahmarandram over the top of his head. Murdhim Adhya Atma Pranam Astito Yogadharan. Being fully aware that he is dying, uttering Om, Om iti Aksharam Brahma Vyaharan, he remembers Saguna Ishvara and reaches Brahmaloka. What happens in Brahmaloka? He gets Nirguna Brahma Upadesha from Chaturmukha Brahmaji and becomes a Jivan Mukta in Brahmaloka. At the time of Maha Pralayam, this Jivan Mukta, along with Brahmaji, will attain Videha Mukti. This is the meaning of Mad Bhava Yati. It is for this reason that this chapter is also called Taraka Brahma Yoga. Taraka refers to Brahma Jnanam, which, like a ferryman, helps us cross this ocean of samsara. Now, is this an ideal mystic sadhana? It is believed that at the time of death, noisy, troublesome, and rude Yamadhutas arrive. Ati bhishana katu bhashana Yamakinkara patati Krita Tandava Paripidana Maranagata Samaye. Yet, Krishna says it is for a Nitya Yukta, remembering Ishvara at the time is indeed Sulabhaha. Thank you.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In verses 15 through 22, Krishna discusses two types of human goals, spiritual and material. The goals attained through karma are finite, whereas the goal achieved through Nishkama Upasana is infinite. Throughout this chapter, Jnana is not mentioned. The comparison is between karma and Nishkama Upasana only. Through karma, one may get higher lokas, but it is still finite. Through Nishkama Upasana, one will get Kramamukti. So Krishna points out that for an intelligent person, God becomes the primary goal, And for the indiscriminate one, everything other than God becomes goal. So in the 15th verse, Krishna mentions the benefit of attaining the highest goal. Here he says God should be the only goal because all finite goals come with three defects, mixed with pain, dissatisfaction, and attachment. And therefore, one is never fulfilled. He calls it Dukhalayam, an abode of sorrow. God alone represents Purnatva. So one will always have security, happiness, contentment. Therefore, it is wise to choose God as the ultimate goal. Krishna declares that these great people who have made this wise choice, when they attain Him, never come back again. Such people have accomplished the highest goal of Purnatva or Moksha, Samsiddhim Paramam. In the 16th verse, Krishna talks about heaven and its drawbacks. Here, Krishna clearly states that heaven is also a finite goal. He says, even if you reach the highest loka, that is Brahma Loka, one has to return back to earth. Why? Because all the 14 lokas exist within time and space. Only Brahman is beyond time and space. So Krishna tells Arjuna that if he pursues him, Ishvara, there is no question of returning to the finite after obtaining the infinite. The next three verses, that is verses 17, 18, and 19, Krishna talks about Brahmaji's longevity. He tells Arjuna that those who have studied the scriptures know that Brahmaji's day and night are 1,000 Chatur Yugas long. He explains what happens during Brahmaji's day and night. When Brahmaji goes to sleep, the universe becomes unmanifest. It is not destroyed. This is called Pralaya. When Brahmaji wakes up, the universe becomes manifest again. The world keeps going in this cycle, manifestation to unmanifestation, non-duality to duality. Thus, the universe is never created or destroyed. The world is eternally there. The same group of jivas will go into the dormant condition and then return. This is an eternal process. So the jiva is helplessly caught in this eternal cycle of birth and death. The next three verses are considered as goalpost verses, which reminds us of our true nature. In verse 20, Krishna points out that there is another goal beyond the manifest and unmanifest states. So to understand that better, let's take the example of waking and deep sleep state. When we are awake, we are in the manifest state. It's called Vyakta. When we are in deep sleep, we are not aware of the world. We are in unmanifest state, Avyakta. But when we get up, we know that we slept well. Who is that entity that knows that we slept well? Krishna is talking about this unmanifest entity. And that is the consciousness principle, which is the witness of everything. He says consciousness is never affected by time and space. It does not perish even when all beings perish. It cannot be located because time and space are located in consciousness. So the 21st verse talks about consciousness as the highest goal in life. Accomplishing such a Brahman is the real goal. Liberation is not going to any place. It is attaining Brahman here and now. And reaching Brahman, one does not return. So it is possible to reach Brahman only through the wisdom that Brahman is never away from one. So one reaches Brahman by claiming it as oneself. Through knowledge, one drops the notion that Brahman is away. And Krishna declares that consciousness alone is his supreme nature, Param Dhama. The nature of Brahman is discussed in the 22nd verse. He says all beings rest in the consciousness principle called Para Purushaha or Brahman. This whole creation is pervaded by this consciousness. To even speak of existence, one needs consciousness. So existence presupposes knowledge, which in turn presupposes consciousness. Krishna then assures that everyone can get it if they have sincere desire to understand it. How? one can attain Nirguna Brahman through Ananya Bhakti and Nishkama Upasana. With this, Krishna completes a comparative study of the higher goal of moksha with the lower goal of dharma, artha, kama. Thank you.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In the path of spirituality, a seeker may be at different level of sadhana. One may be at karma yoga level, another may be at the level of upasana or devotion to God. The discussion in these verses, that is 23 to 27, are referring to a karma yogi or upasaka who has not yet reached the stage of gaining self-knowledge during their lifetime. For such a seeker at the time of death, as told by Sri Krishna, there are two destinations or goals to reach depending on the quality of the sadhana that has been attained by the seeker. One is the returnable goal, also known as Loka Prapti or Nitya Prapti. Then it is non-returnable goal, also known as Nitya Moksha or Ishvara Prapti. Krishna talks about the following in these verses: the path leading to the two types of goals or destinations, and the kind of spiritual seekers entitled to take these paths. The two paths Krishna talks about are the path of no return, also known as Shukla Gati or the brighter path, and the path of return, also known as Krishna Gati or dark path. Krishna further goes on to explain the brighter path or Shukla Gati. The yogi or seeker in the path of spirituality practices Nishkama Ishvara Upasana or meditation. That is, meditate upon Brahma or Ishvara with name and form throughout the lifetime, but not practiced Jnana Yoga and hence not self-realized or liberated. The Nishkama Ishvara Upasana is meant for inner or spiritual growth with devotion to God and ultimate goal as only God and not for any material accomplishments. Krishna goes on to say, such a seeker at the time of death will travel through a special path called Shuklagati and will go to a special loka or higher plane called Brahmaloka, get the knowledge of Brahman over there and then attain liberation. That is, be one with God and be freed from the cycle of birth and rebirth. This way of uniting with God through Shuklagati or Marga is called Krama Mukti. It is mentioned by Krishna that the seeker is guided in the Shuklagati path by the Devatas of Agni, the fire, Ahaha, the day, the moonlit fortnight of Shukla Paksha or the bright ascending moon, and Uttarayana, the 6-month northern course of the sun. We have to note that all these are related to light. This can be considered as an analogy to explain the spiritual concept where light symbolizes knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of our ultimate goal in the spiritual path. Krishna goes on to explain the second path taken by the seekers after death. It is called Krishna Marga. The yogi, that is the seeker, has performed lots of rituals, performed the duties and noble service to the society, and hence acquired punya, but have not done upasana or meditation on Saguna God or Ishvara for various reasons. These seekers attain the lower plane called Chandramasam Jyotihi, that is Chandraloka, also known as heaven or Swargaloka. Once the punyam is exhausted, after experiencing the pleasures in the Swargaloka, the seeker returns back into the cycle of birth and rebirth. That returnable path is indicated by darkness, symbolizing ignorance, confusion, or not so clear about the fact that one's ultimate goal in life is to be one with God or liberation. Analogy drawn to this explanation as told by the scriptures is that the seeker in their journey after death through the path of Krishna Gati to Swargaloka is guided by the deities who preside over the smoke of the fire, night, Krishna Paksha, the dark fortnight, and Sanmasaha Dakshinayana, that is the 6 months of sun's southern course. all of which indicate darkness. Sri Krishna also states that the two paths that have been elaborated, Krishnagati, the path of return to this world, and Shuklagati, the path of no return or liberation, or Kramamukti, have been established since time immemorial. That is, they are created along with the creation. Jagataha Shashvate. As Krishna concludes the topic of the seeker's journey after death, he says to Arjuna that those who have the knowledge of the fate of the seeker after death is not deluded or misinformed. For various reasons, if liberation is not possible in this lifetime, he says, Yoga Yuktaha Sarveshu Kaleshu, which means remain engaged in yoga all the time. That is the path of selfless action combined with single-pointed devotion to the Lord. In other words, to perform Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga at all the times in order to qualify for the right path after death. That is the path leading to the liberation. The encompassing message of the Gita is the ultimate goal of a seeker is to attain liberation in this lifetime, here and now. For those who cannot reach the goal, Krishna's advice through these verses is that we should at least put the teachings to practice in our lives by remaining engaged in Karma and Upasana Yoga at all times to attain liberation after death, in other words, Krama Mukti. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In this verse, the concluding verse of chapter 8, Lord Krishna speaks to us about the glory of Upasana. Vedeshu yajneshu tapastu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva yogi param stanamupaiti chatyam. Lord Krishna glorifies God as the destination. Having known this, the yogi goes beyond all the punya phala which is promised with regard to the Vedas, the yagnas, the austerities, and also dhanam. He attains the supreme and the primal abode. Next slide, please. In this context, an yogi means an Ajnani Nishkama Saguna Ishvara Upasaka. In this concluding verse, Lord Krishna glorifies the result of Upasana as superior to all other results gained through all other pursuits, because none of them can take one to that goal which the Upasaka attains, that is, the supreme primal God. To study this further, so far we have learned that two seekers take two paths to reach two destinations. The first among them, the karmi, takes the path of Krishnagati, the dark path, and reaches the finite Svarga, after which he has to return to the world. Whereas the second path, the Ajnani Nishkama Saguna Ishvara Upasaka, takes to Shuklagati, or the bright path, and attains the destination, which is the Nitya Ishvara. This particular path is called the Krama Mukti. What we need to remember here is that we have not included Jnani in any of these paths, and we are not talking about Nirguna Ishvara Upasaka also in this chapter. Here, if an option is given between Karmi and Upasana, which one is better? Before we think about the answer, we need to be clear about the definitions of the terms Upasana and Karma. Upasana is a mental activity associated with Ishvara, whereas Karma is the physical activity. So the answer to the above question is that we definitely are going to choose the Upasana Phalam. And why is this so? because upasana phalam is much more greater than the karma phalam. Karma phalam includes physical activities like Veda Parayanam, Yagnas, which is performance of rituals, Tapaha, which is the practice of several types of vows and ratams, and Dhanam, which is charity. Therefore, next slide please, Lord Krishna asked Arjuna not to miss this opportunity. Take to Nishkama Saguna Ishvara Upasana. Remember the Lord all the time, even at the time of death. Remember him then. You're sure to obtain moksha. Here, he is indirectly answering Arjuna's 7th question as to how to remember God at the time of death. Chapter 8 is an odd man out where Lord Krishna gives importance to Saguna Ishvara Upasana, whereas in the rest of the Madhyama Shataka, he only talks about Jnana Yoga. Let us end the chapter by chanting Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Akshara Brahma Yogo Nama Ashtamodhyayaha. Thank you. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Om Gananam Tva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspada Arashunvannoti Bisida Sadanam Mahaganapataye Namaha Prano Devi Saraswati Bhaje Virvajanivati Dinama Vitrayavat Vagdeve Namaha. Om Sahasrashirsham Devam Vishwaksham Vishwashambhavam Vishwam Narayanam Devamaksharam Paramam Padam Vishwata Paraman Nityam Vishwam Narayanagam Harim Vishwamevedam Purushastad Vishwamupajivati Patim Vishwasyatmeshwaragam Shashvatagam Shivamachyutam Narayanam Mahagneyam Vishwatmanam Parayanam Narayana Paro Jyotiratma Narayana Paraha Narayana Param Brahma Tattvam Narayana Paraha Narayana Paro Dhyata Dhyanam Narayana Paraha Yacha Kichid Jagat Sarvam Drushyate Shruyate Piva Antar Bahischa Tat Sarvam Vyapya Narayana Stitaha Anantamamnyayam Kavigam Samudrentam Vishwashambhuvam Padmakosha Pratikashagam Hrudayam Chapyadomukam Adho Nishtyavitasthyantyē Nabhyamuparitishthati Jwalamala Kulambhati Vishwasyayatanam Mahat Santadagam Shilabhisto Lambhatya Kosha Sannibham Tasyante Susirgam Sukshmam Tasmin Sarvam Pratishtitam Tasya Madhye Mahanagnir Vishwarchir Vishwato Mukaha Sogra Bhugvi Bhajan Tishtannahara Majarakavihi Tirya Gurdva Madashyayi Rashmayastasya Santata Santapayati Swam Deha Mapada Talamastakaha Tasya Madhye Vatnishikhaniyordva Vyavastitaha Nilato Yadu Madhyastad Vidyullekeva Bhaswara Nivara Shukavattanvi Pitabha Swatyanupama Tasya Shikhaya Madhye Paramatma Vyavastitaha Sa Brahma Sa Shiva Sa Harisendra Sokshara Paramaswarat Rutugam Satyam Param Brahma Purusham Krishna Pingalam Urdhvaretam Virupaksham Vishwarupaya Vai Namo Namaha Om Narayanaya Vidmahe Vasudevaya Dhimahi तन्नो विष्णु प्रचोदयात्। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
Thank you, Vishwanath sir, for the wonderful chanting. We could soak ourselves in the divinity of Namasmarana. With a great sense of indebtedness, I thank Dr. Simthimappa Hegde sir for guiding us consistently that connects us instantly to the scriptures and beyond. Heartfelt gratitude to the esteemed speakers for making Vedantic Shravanam an experience to cherish. In this chapter, we were introduced to so many dichotomies, Shuklagati, Krishnagati, then Sakama Upasana, Nishkama Upasana, Karmi, Upasaka, Brahmaloka, other higher lokas, Krama Mukti, Punarjanma. The most important point to be noted here is that Gnanam or Gnani do not come into picture at all here. Nirguna Brahma is obscured for Karmis and Upasakas. Gnana, being beyond comparison, has perhaps been kept away from the comparison of the paths of karma and upasana. Let us dwell on the learnings of today's sessions till we meet again to take a detour to Upadesha Saram. The verses 23 to 30 will be taken up, the remaining ones. So in the next class on 29th of November 2021 at 6:45 p.m. Indian Standard Time, Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Hari Om.